And your legs. Length of your right leg, the length of your left leg. Notice your hands and your feet. Notice the circumference of your limbs, your arms, your legs. What sense of dimension do you have of your knees? If you have an injury or problem in your left leg, I suggest you change these instructions and do them with your right leg. That's often the case, although sometimes it can be very useful to actually practice imagining on the leg that is being worked without moving. But because often our imagination isn't as developed as it can be and as our doing, then it can be better to do first on the side that we can. So begin to roll your left leg, your left foot a little bit outwards, and then let that go. So you're not inwards, just outwards, and pause your left leg unless you have a problem with your right. So notice how the back of your heel rolls on the floor. You notice the arc of movement that your toes make in space. What do you sense happening in your hip joint? Can you continue that movement? And if you keep turning the little toe edge of your foot, the outside edge of your foot outward, it will move toward the floor, and maybe you notice the moment where your left knee, might begin to bend a little bit. Just notice that moment. And then let it go and come back. Pause a moment. Then return to that movement again. And can you do even less? So that you feel the changing contact of your left calf with the floor. You feel the pathway of pressure over your left heel. And you're listening for the movement that this creates in your hip joint. Can you feel any invitation for your pelvis to roll a little bit? To change its way of lying ever so slightly? Now begin to make that movement a little larger. So if you turn your foot outward, you feel a moment that your knee bends, and you continue to bend your knee a little bit so that your foot trails on the floor and slides in the direction of your buttock a little bit, and then slide it back down again so your leg lengthens and straightens. Make the movement as easy as you can, and don't go past the first moment where you feel an increase of effort, where the movement begins to get a little more difficult. And how do you notice that? What do you use in yourself to notice a change in quality? Because when we're talking about more difficult, we're talking about a resistance in the movement that can be noticed by effort, increasing effort. That's how hard you need to work to continue the movement. Sometimes it can be noticed by holding our breath or pressing on the floor in certain places, or the movement is not smooth. It doesn't have the same speed. It changes speed. There's little subtle either speed bumps in the movement, speed humps, speed bumps, or jerks. Pause a moment. And in that pause, could you bend your right leg and stand your right foot? And notice, how did you do it? Did you bring your knee directly towards the ceiling? Did you lift your foot away from the floor? What pathway did you choose? So some people, their knee opened to the side and then the foot came to standing. Others, the knees did various arcs. Anyway, the next time you have your foot standing, leave it standing, your right foot standing, and gently roll your pelvis with the help of your right foot to the left and back. Not that, roll your pelvis. So roll your pelvis, how is that different to tilt your knee? So for some people, that's the same. And the tilting of the knee can roll the pelvis, but please keep your knee directed towards the ceiling. So sometimes we need to be more explicit or have more references in the direction to make it clearer. So rolling your pelvis, keeping your right knee towards the ceiling, and then rolling your pelvis to the left and return, to the left and return. So your right knee is not going rightward, as much as you can identify that. Okay, lengthen your right leg again. Then go back to turning your left foot outward, feeling that changing contact on your leg, beginning to slide your heel upward as the knee bends. So the foot slides as a consequence of the knee bending. And your knee is bending headward, and then you follow the same path downwards. It's not that one. It's not that. So listen. The foot turns out, rolls over the heel until the knee starts to bend, and then the foot the knee moves headwards, but the knee stays open to the side, and the foot is drawn in the direction of the pelvis, and then it slides back down again, keeping the knee hanging open and the leg as soft as possible. Notice the pathway that your foot travels on the floor. If there was sand, if this was sand, a sandy floor, what's channel? What would be the direction of that channel? Shoes will add an extra degree of friction that you can accommodate to, but so would that channel be at what angle to a line extended down from your midline? Does that channel go in the direction of your pelvis from where your heel begins? Or does it curve outwards or curve inwards? What's its pathway? Okay. So now we've done just simply 2 movements, basically. The first movement was rolling the leg outward and paying attention to different things and different elements, directions, smoothness and effort. And the second one was standing the foot and rolling the pelvis in the direction of the leg that you've been exploring. Could you teach yourself those two instructions out loud to your right leg? Now we know who's awake. Who went to sleep? So we've done two instructions with we've had two variations in that ATM. Could you teach yourself out loud those two instructions, those two variations with your right leg? So one's will be with your right leg, rolling the foot outward. The other will be standing your left leg and rolling your pelvis. But actually say the words. Oh, you... Yeah, you've got to ignore the mumbles in the environment. Yes, you're doing it and you're teaching yourself out loud. And when you've finished, you can lengthen your legs, scan the influence of your experience in your legs. It's kind of the first taste of an ATM. Okay, so wherever you're at now, please lengthen your legs. Continue tomorrow. Just roll your right leg a little inward and outward, your left leg a little inward and outward over your heel. Like we did last week when we were looking for the hip joint. Just sense what's that's like now. And then leave it, and you can roll yourself up to sitting, up to standing. And as you walk and pack up, continue to sense what you notice in yourself. Even those little movements they've left an influence in that you can sense in the quality of your movement. And we will see you tomorrow.